And now I'd like to open the meeting to the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jeremy.
During Sunday's roundtable, the question was asked, if your thought is becoming fearful and depressed, what does that indicate? Before coming to this church, fear and depression seemed to define me as a person. Life felt like this huge math equation with many parts that I had no hope of solving because I could never know all those variables. When I first came to Plainfield and started to learn about Christian Science, I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to trust God, that God is dealing with all those variables, and try not to worry about them. And this worked for a while. I felt less fear and almost no depression. That question on Sunday about what does fear and depression indicate sort of woke me up to an important understanding. To me, fear was worrying about variables. Depression was worrying about the whole equation, and anxiety was the feeling that I had to solve it right now. However, the truth is, God doesn't deal with variables. In James chapter 1, verse 17, he wrote, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning." That means God is invariable. The idea of God working with variables came from the thought that there were things God needed to handle, yet how can that be? There's only God and his creation. There's no other power to create these variables, and no other power to cause fear or worry or depression. Every week I prepare a testimony and I think, this has got to be my biggest healing yet, but tonight might really be it. I used to perpetually feel weighed down by thoughts about past, present, and future, feeling the need to solve that equation so that it all made sense. Now I understand that life makes sense because God is life. I don't need to solve anything, because all of God's reality is perfect and complete. I'm so grateful that life as I believed it to be, and the man I thought I was, turned out to be lies. I'm grateful for Christian Science, for this church, and for daily practitioner support, bringing me week by week closer to God and further from those false beliefs. I'm grateful that God made all things good. Thank you.
Thank you. Chardell from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Oh, good evening. Thank you for the beautiful service and those magnificent readings. And tonight I would like to express my gratitude for our continued Bible studies held each Saturday morning. Over the years, I searched for a meaningful Bible study in many places, and it wasn't until coming to Plainfield Church that this happened. The Bible studies here have opened the true meaning of God's great love, mercy, and patience that he showers on us. But this powerful spiritual being of life will not be mocked by human ego and false power. And then comes the New Testament with all the glory of God's promises to mankind through Christ Jesus. Thank you, Plainfield Church.
Thank you. Luann from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. Last week before the testimony meeting, while working on a construction project, I shot a finishing nail through my finger with a nail gun. The pain was instant and caused me to feel faint. I wrapped it in a cloth and went to my quiet place to work through this claim. Because of the lessons I've been taught by my practitioner and the study of Christian Science concerning animal magnetism, I was able to recognize it right away as an attempt to keep me from giving a testimony to the healing power of God. A recent roundtable discussion was helpful in pointing out the need to argue aggressively against the claim and affirm the truth. I laughed at the claim and reaffirmed the scientific statement of being, knowing nothing had touched me, for I am spiritual, not material. Nothing can keep me from testifying and expressing my gratitude to God for all the blessings I've been given. Nothing can interfere with the work God has for me to do, and nothing could keep his word from going forth. In a matter of minutes, the pain and bleeding stopped, and there was no more thought of it. I was able to give my testimony, and the next day I was able to continue with the construction project. I had completely forgotten about the ordeal as I worked. My finger was completely healed. I am so grateful to God and for everything that I've been taught here at the Plainfield Church. I'm grateful for my practitioner for all the work she does to enable me to make progress in understanding the truth of my being, and for teaching me the importance of taking an aggressive stance against all forms of malicious mental suggestions. Thank you for the readings and tonight's healing service.
Thank you. Pilar from New York, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I was talking earlier today with the practitioner, and I was kind of complaining about how disappointed I was of the raise and bonus that we were supposed to be getting this month. And she pointed out to me that, God will take care of you no matter what happens or what, regardless of any monetary issues. And I kind of left and went back to my desk and continued working. Lunchtime came and I had not brought anything from home for lunch, and I was debating, I really have so much work, I don't want to go out, but I am really hungry. And I kept thinking, God, and this prayer just went very quickly out of me, said, oh God, wouldn't it be nice if somebody offers to just bring lunch, like sometimes they do, in this big corporate office I work. And I have said that, and a few minutes after that, I was sitting with some of the other managers at the desk, and here comes the director and said to us, hey guys, why don't you come over to the break room? We have a lot of food there, and you're welcome to partake of some of that food. So I was a little astounded because it was so quick. The prayer was answered so quick. I was able to have my lunch. And even though this is not such a big, testimony, but anyways, to me it was big because I had proof how God really, even at the minutest detail, how He can take care of us every time, even to the providing of lunch. Thank you very much, and thank you for those wonderful readings tonight.
Thank you. Linda from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the beautiful music, readings, and testimonies. I'm very grateful for all that I'm learning here that is bringing me closer to God. Tonight, I would like to especially express my gratitude for the lessons on joy. Before coming to Plainfield, my attitude was more of pessimism and sorrow. I was often drawn to sad things like music, stories, and pictures. This focus is being broken down as I am beginning to truly understand God's allness and goodness. Now I no longer see this depression as normal condition for God's man or myself. I am finding joy in working for God, practicing Christ's teachings, and Mary Baker Eddy's pure science. Part of this change going on is getting rid of the beliefs that I was a victim and a sense of powerlessness. With the support of a Plainfield practitioner, I have been giving my past to God, practicing true forgiveness and gratitude more consistently, and learning a true sense of unselfishness. Recently, we had a wonderful roundtable in February this year on happiness during the lesson on soul, and there was a discussion about true happiness and how God is the source of our joy. I'm very grateful for all that goes on here. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Thank you. I am most grateful to the for the Plainfield Church and the all the avenues that we have of it, especially the daily activities of communing with a practitioner that always gives you an extra little support to move you on for your daily activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Lil.
A couple of days ago, I was feeling low and very uneasy. I just couldn't get my peace. I picked up the January issue of our magazine, Love is a Liberator, and started reading new articles which were on watching, the theme of the magazine. As I kept reading, I felt the heaviness and negativity lifting and gained a closeness to God. I'm so grateful for the love and dedication that went into this magazine. I thank God for bringing me here to be a part of the healing mission of this church. And thank you for those wonderful readings.
Thank you. Carol.
The other day I was driving down the street and I saw a man on the sidewalk who was clearly under the influence of something. And just as quick as I realized what it was, a thought came to me from Watches, Prayers, and Arguments, just a couple of little thoughts that I could remember, and I'd like to read this to you because it is so helpful. One day, Mrs. Eddy said to a student, "Are you working?" He began to tell of his hours of study and work. She said, "When you see old age, do you declare that life is eternal activity, beauty, and joy? When you see the leaves falling and hear the wind blow, do you declare that there is no change, decay, or cold? When you see deformity and disease, do you declare that man is made in the image and likeness of God?" The student answered, "Mrs. Eddy, I am not working." Well, that was such a sharp reminder, and I thought right away that right there is the presence of God, upright and godlike, and there's nothing that can pull that dear soul down. And of course, I just kept driving, but I was so grateful for the reminder to be on my toes all the time and be sure to be handling anything that I see that's not right or any suggestion or it just was really a good reminder, and I just love that statement. It was such a help, and I'm very grateful to God for making me remember all these wonderful things and for all the wonderful helps that Mrs. Eddy has left for us that we can use and live with. I'm so very grateful to God for this church and grateful for practitioner help. And thank you.
Thank you. This is Bruce. I'm grateful for experience of healing I had last week. Seems like one thing after another was coming my way, and it appeared like it was a lot. And next thing you know, I'm feeling very concerned and worried about it, wondering what am I going to do. And then I remembered that there was a passage from our lesson last week that was in the responsive reading, and it goes, "There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High." And I thought, am I feeling this river? And if not, and obviously I wasn't, then I should, because after all, that river is indeed there, the flow of right and inspiring thoughts, this cleansing river that will cleanse our thoughts, cleanse our experience, and set it back on the right path. And I remember what Paul had taught us, that ye are the temple of the living God. And the only thing that gathers into this temple are the things of God, and they're good only. Therefore, there's no reason why I shouldn't feel glad and happy. And after that, I started getting some right ideas, and one by one resolved each thing that had come to me. And I found myself thanking God for every right idea, because He has them all, and they're ready for us every time that we need them. So I'm grateful for reminding that river is there, and the streams of inspiring, right thoughts are always available to each and every one of us, because their source is God, who is omnipresence. Sharon.
I was reminded recently of an experience I had when I was very new to this church. I was the office manager of a machine shop, and they did grinding and cutting of metal. And on the floor were metal chips. And one day I had to go into the shop, and later on I noticed the stone fell out of my ring. And I called the practitioner from this church and told her of the situation, and she said, "Nothing is lost in divine mind." And there was so much conviction that I knew it wasn't lost. Well, later on that afternoon, I had to go back into the shop, and even though there were all these metal chips, the stone just stood out like a bright light. And I've never forgotten that, because to me, that was something that would have been impossible without God. There was no way. And I've always been grateful to know there's no experience or anything we go through that God can't take care of. I am just so grateful for what I've learned in this church, for all the practitioner help I've received and am receiving, and to be a member here. And I'm grateful for the beautiful readings.
Thank you. Dale from Virginia, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful readings on the peace of God tonight, and all the beautiful hymns, the music, and the testimonies. Every single word is a blessing. I'm so grateful for our website. In each morning I have a watch, but then also besides that, the Bible study. But this dear church, the people, just the ideas overflow, and they have the offering of an email to be sent out to anyone who wants it. And in this email, which is sent out daily and is there first thing in the morning because it comes in the night, there's a couple of selections that we can go into. Lots of times it's a wonderful hymn that just really picks you up and gets you right on the right track for the day, or it's a wonderful testimony, and sometimes the testimonies from our practitioners in this church, and sometimes I listen to more than one because they're so wonderful and helpful. Or there's an article that's on the website and the carousel. I am so grateful for all these wonderful works and these truths that we are given, and that come straight from God and guide us in our day, to guide us in the right way and to help others and pray for the world. And I'm so grateful for all of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike from New York, go ahead.
I am so grateful for the teachings that go on at this Plainfield Church. The one that really has been so wonderful for me was the one on the round table on watching about a week ago, and it has so turned around my ability to do a much better watch, and it gives me joy now to do the watches, and I am just so grateful for that. The other thing that's been happening is that now as I'm going through the day and I can catch myself in negative thoughts and reverse that with divine thoughts, rather than spend the whole day going over and over the same old mortal thoughts that have been so negative in my life. I am so appreciative of how, again tonight, the readings and the music is so appropriate for the day and for the times. I'm so grateful to be a member of Plainfield Church.
Thank you. Gary.
I'm so grateful for one of the many lessons that I have learned in Christian Science in this church, and that is that the only peace there is, or ever could be, is the peace of God. I remember when I first came to Plainfield, I would often get very dismayed at all the turmoil and trouble that seemed to be going on in the world. And I would think, well, God is a God of peace. Why is there all this stuff going on? And it would be quite disturbing to me. But a practitioner in this church helped me to see that this comes to my experience to be handled. I need to pray for the world. I need to pray for the people who don't know God. There's work for me to do. I need to handle the temptations that come to me. And that is the only way to gain peace. And I remember at first thinking, well, why do I have to do all this? Why is there a battle in the first place? But once I got to the point where I accepted that, yes, okay, there is a battle going on, and I have a responsibility to do my job, to do my share, to fight for what is right, to pray for the world, and to overcome, in my own thinking, the sins of the world. Then I felt like I was equipped to handle these things that appear to be trouble in the world. And that was when I began to find my own peace. And it wasn't peace where there is no peace. It wasn't covering anything up. It was facing things directly. And that was when I began to find the peace of God. I'm so grateful for the teaching that I've had in this church. I'm so grateful for Christian Science and for Mary Baker Eddy for giving us this tremendous science which gives us the ammunition to deal with what we need to deal with every day. So great to be here.
Thank you. Florence or Day, go ahead.
This is Day. Thank you. Thank you so much for tonight's readings, particularly the message from God, "Surely I will be with you." This is such a helpful message that reminds me that as I'm seeking daily to do God's will, when I'm led to do something, no matter how great the task, I don't need to give in to any suggestions of worry or fear or doubt in my ability, but rather I need to trust that God will be with me, guiding me all along. It reminds me that no matter what I'm led to do, if God brings me to it, He will surely bring me through it. And this is so helpful to me. I'm so grateful for this and for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mary.
I have a few things to read from the church website bulletin board. The first, Vermont. I'm grateful for today's timely calendar quote. "The Lord is good, a strong hold in the day of trouble, and He knoweth them that trust in Him." This particular quote is from Nahum, and I just learned that Nahum's name means comforter. How wonderful is that? I thank God for this church and for the many ways it blesses all mankind. And then Pennsylvania, I wish to thank Dede for the beautiful reading of the audio lesson for this week on reality. And another from Pennsylvania. Thanks for bringing pages 110 to 111 of Watches, Prayers, and Arguments on the subject of Materia Medica to our attention during today's roundtable. It could be an important element to include in many watches and prayers. Thank you for those beautiful readings on peace. I felt like the world was receiving a treatment on peace and having that one mind that will destroy all ills and bring us all together in the love of God. It was read in Philippians 4, be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Many years ago, that passage was brought to my attention when I was quite worried and fearful, as we've heard others admit to tonight. And that statement, be careful for nothing, I wasn't really sure what that meant, but it was explained to me. That means don't be anxious about anything. That's quite a command, not to be anxious about anything. And then it gives a simple recipe as to what to do. The first, in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. So some of those words, supplication is a humble and earnest prayer. And prayer, as we've learned here in Christian Science, is an expression of our sense of God's glorious perfection. It's affirmation. And of course, thanksgiving is thanking God for the good received. So all of these things, you cannot be anxious and be grateful at the same time. It's an impossibility. So this is the key, to start counting your blessings and to be grateful. And then let your requests be made known unto God. You're not in this alone. You know, when you're having a problem, sometimes you feel very alone, like no one cares or you can never find your way out of this problem. Well, that's not true, because God is your loving father, mother, and speak to him as a loving father, as you would a loving father. He is with you, and he will help you with this, and he will see you through. Be anxious for nothing. 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 God always has the answer. And as we do that, we do find that peace of God, which passeth all understanding. I'm so grateful for this meeting tonight and to be here with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Florence.
Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to say tonight how grateful I am for our watches, because what the world needs most and what each of us needs most is really being brought about by these watches. I feel strongly that what Mrs. Eddy talks about in page 48 of Watches, Prayers, and Argument is what she said we should use every day. It's very brief, so I'll read it. It says, God is all, there is no evil. All is harmony, there is no discord. All is health, there is no sickness. All is spirit, there is no matter. All is joy, there is no sorrow. All is truth, there is no falsehood. All is faith, there is no fear. All is life, there is no death. All is love, there is no hate. I'm so grateful for this revelation to all mankind. Thank you.